Well, happy Monday to you from the Take Two team here at EWTN. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher, Rich Jesse, Jeff Burson, Matt Kabinski. The whole EWTN staff and volunteers just want to say happy Monday. Thanks for being with us on Take Two. It's St. Maximilian Kolbe feast day, one of my favorite saints. Jerry, I have a feeling because St. Maximilian Kolbe is watching over the show today. I just feel it. We prayed to him and asked for his intercession. I think we're going to have a great show.
I think so too, and we're going to be talking about being young, being Catholic, and being in the working world, the professional world today. And so what that means is if you fit that category, or maybe you were once young and Catholic and professional, and we want to hear your experiences, field your questions about being vibrantly Catholic, living that faith, making sure that you carry that with you into the workplace, and that the workplace and the world and the culture out there don't kind of pound on you to the point where your faith gets chipped away or whittled away. So if you're in that situation, or maybe you've already finished your working career or a little bit well along in that, and you've managed to be a witness to the faith in the professional world, give us a call, 1-800-585-9396.
Or if one of your children is entering into the career world and they want to keep their Catholic faith, they want to bring it into the workplace in a very humble and gentle way, but they definitely want to be Catholic in the world. This is a show you want to listen to today. Or maybe you want to participate and ask some questions about it. This is how we kind of all come together. We bring our collective wisdom and we participate together, and then we watch what the Holy Spirit does with this show. It's such a beautiful, I like to say, organic unfolding show because of your participation. 1-800-585-9396. I can't even talk today, Jerry. I don't know why. Maybe it's coming off of the weekend. I'm not sure.
Well, we've got some help, Debbie. You and I both are tripping over our tongues, but we have someone, I'm sure, who will be much more articulate and eloquent, not just today, but probably on any day on this show. And so, friends, we've got someone who's going to join us right now, and I will introduce her for you here. And again, keep in mind, there are a lot of young Catholics just really not sure how to be Catholic in the professional world. And if you've gotten a handle on that, or maybe you haven't, get a hold of us on the show, 1-800-585-9396. Jennifer Baugh is the founder and executive director of Young Catholic Professionals. It's a nonprofit organization, and the mission is to work in witness for Christ. Jennifer has a Bachelor's of Science in Marketing from Trinity University and her MBA from Texas A&M, graduating summa cum laude. She worked for Merrill Lynch in the Global Wealth Management practice and for FTI Consulting in the corporate restructuring practice before starting the Young Catholic Professionals Ministry in 2010. She's been on Life on the Rock, on EWTN, Word on Fire. She's been in the National Catholic Register. And Jennifer, we're just so delighted to have you with us to talk about this today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Welcome.
Jerry and Debbie, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be on this show with you, so very grateful to be here.
Thanks for making time. Go ahead, Deb.
Yes, thank you. You're busy. You are very busy. But Jennifer, when you started your organization, what was that one thing that just made you say that you had to do this? Because that's a big endeavor to start a nonprofit organization, and it's grown. You said you now have a staff and things are really going far and wide, and that's wonderful. That just goes to show that the Holy Spirit is definitely working in the midst of your ministry. But what really made you start it?
Absolutely. I really just have to say it was the unbelievable need, because really this whole effort was very much out of character. I would say, that I was always someone who was kind of shooting for a higher standard, always seeking to do well in school and things like that, but not really one to sort of push the envelope or kind of do something that was counter to what was trending at the time. But really, I think it was a perfect kind of planting of the seed of faith in my heart from my mom, who shared the faith with us, of course, when we were younger. And it really allowed me, I think, to pull from that when I was going through my own sort of, quarter-life crisis, I could say. I had just graduated from an MBA program, and I had about 8 months off in between grad school and starting this consulting job. And it was during this time, the first time I'd ever had kind of time for silence. that I realized that my own faith life was very surface level, and that I hadn't, in a sense, really owned it, on my own. And so it was during that time that it was sort of humbling. At the same time, we learned that for when I am weak, then I am strong. And it was really that moment that led me on my knees to prayer, asking God to help me know Him and teach me who He was. And really just a series of prayer for about a couple of months that led to a moment of just incredible divine mercy, and just God showering graces and telling me that He had been with me all along, even though I had not been quite focused on it. And it was at that moment I decided I really wanted to be an authentic Catholic, and that was the word, authentic. And I wanted to learn everything there was to know about the faith, and just set out on a great adventure to read about the lives of the saints. We have a great one today, as you mentioned, Debbie, and just, to learn about the teachings of our church, which I found to be so beautiful, and I couldn't believe we weren't hearing about these teachings more. So it was just an unbelievable kind of opening of a treasure chest, and I think having that experience combined with seeing the fact that the church wasn't really engaging young people like myself in a way that was, I thought at the time, effective. Coming from business school, I just said, maybe God is calling me to something here, because there could certainly be something more. So I think it was just a combination, Debbie, of just the time in my life for silence, the time to not be distracted, and then really falling in love with the teachings of our faith. And then the third factor is saying there's an opportunity here to share the richness of our faith in a way that's attractive and compelling, and maybe God is calling me to at least take one step forward.
Well, we are calling on Catholics in the working world. Are you out there in the professional world right now? Young, maybe even not so young. What's the climate out there? Share with us, because I remember I could share for hours about how, and I won't, by the way. When Debbie, probably both of us, when we got started, we're a little bit older than Jennifer, and it was a very different climate. There wasn't the hostility toward faith in the culture, certainly, and I think that's seeping into a lot of businesses and workplaces. You see the diversity and the multiculturalism. Not saying that they're essentially bad, but they often can introduce things that challenge our faith. So, folks, give us a call, 1-800-585-9396. Share your experience of being out there in the workaday world and trying to maintain your Catholic faith and make a difference in other people's lives.
Jerry, you just sparked a memory of mine I just want to share real quickly with you and Jennifer and our listeners. Please call in, though. We need your participation, 1-800-585-9396. You can get right in, talk to Matt Gabinski. He's so nice. Sometimes we just call up Matt just to talk to him, just because we can. That's how nice Matt is. So please don't leave him waiting for your phone call. Call in right now. But you sparked a memory, Jerry, and it made me think about this. Jennifer, I was in my 20s when I was a manager at a very exclusive hotel here in Arizona. And I was very proud. I am very proud to be Catholic, and I always wore this gold crucifix. I always wore it during when I was working. It just was very natural for me to have it on. At the time, though, my last name was a Jewish last name because I was married to a Jewish guy, and it was a very pronounced Jewish last name. Anyway, so I went up to the table to say hello to one of the guests. And the lady turned to me and she just looked straight at me and she said, "I am very offended by the cross you're wearing."
Wow.
And I said, "Excuse me." And I grabbed the crucifix. I said, "Excuse me?" And she pointed to my name tag, because we had to wear name tags as managers. And she says, "What is a Jewish girl? Why is a Jewish girl wearing a cross?" I'll never forget it. And isn't it interesting that we're talking about this on St. Maximilian Kolbe, which I just find there's no accident to that. But what was interesting, though, was how people will make assessments not even knowing any of the details. They just assume something. So it's interesting. And it was even happening back then. I could only imagine now when you brought up the climate now, I could only imagine now, Jennifer, it's got to be really difficult to really be a very pronounced, a very, out there Catholic. What are people saying and thinking?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just even in my own personal experience, when I was working at the consulting firm before the YCP adventure, I had an small image of the Divine Mercy on my desk. And, people would come by and just say, very hostile things and just kind of label me church girl and all of these other things, which is just, not a full description of who I am. And so you're absolutely right. I think that there's a lot of hostility out there, but that's why we're called to be strong and courageous and really lay down our lives for our faith. And, there's a quote from St. Maximilian Kolbe I read this morning that I think we should all really, sort of celebrate right now. He said, "No one in the world can change truth. What we can do and should do is to seek truth and to serve it when we have found it." And so the notion of serving the truth, that's not just something we do after work or on Sunday. It's something that we as Catholics have to do in every single moment of our lives. And so many of us spend a great deal of time working. And so I think that's what, young Catholic professionals hopes to help many young Catholics out there do is have an identity in faith so that, they really know what they believe, and then they have the confidence to defend it and really be ambassadors of the faith. And that can look, that can look different for so many different situations that we encounter. One is simply through the fidelity and sort of stability and professionalism with which we work, that we work in offering for God, and that way our coworkers will see us as people that are reliable and worthy of admiration. And it's also that we use our work as an opportunity to, witness and evangelize to our coworkers, and we certainly cannot do that if we're not people who are full of integrity. So, there's really a lot for us to talk about in this subject, and I think this is really just a chance through young Catholic professionals to have a dialogue so that other young people can see that they're not alone, that there are other people out there who are struggling with these same issues, but just because we're sort of isolated and few and far between doesn't mean that the path we're walking down is wrong. In fact, it's the correct one.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Our unique look or a unique perspective that we're trying to gain today is on Catholics in the working world, especially young Catholics. But you could be a little bit older, like me and Debbie, and if you've got your own experience, maybe you've had a real impact on somebody that you work with. They were living their faith, but also being very diligent employees, like Jennifer was just describing, and perhaps someone in the workplace took notice of that in you and said, well, what is it? I want to know, I want to be like that, and maybe they've come to faith because of you. That would be a beautiful testimony to share. 1-800-585-9396. We do have calls that we're going to get to in just a couple minutes, but Jennifer, you've chosen St. Joseph the Worker as your patron saint, and that seems on many levels to be a very natural choice, but explain exactly why and what you see his patronage doing to help your organization out.
Oh, absolutely. We're so grateful to him. I think it's just he's such a powerful example for us on so many levels. I mean, first of all, he's a humble carpenter, and so I think that there's a lot that we can learn about sort of obedience to God and sort of serving him through the ordinary activities of our daily life. I mean, just his model of courage, basically persevering when it was very challenging for him, and loving, our Blessed Mother and Jesus until the very end, that fidelity and that unbelievable surrender for something higher. I think he was also a leader in the best sense. He was unafraid to take on great responsibility. And I think, in our world today, we're suffering from a lack of leadership, and so he serves as just a tremendous, tremendous role model for us. In fact, at all of our chapters across the country, at the end of all of our events, we recite together a prayer to St. Joseph for workers. And basically, we say in this prayer, St. Joseph, teach us to work as you did, with patience, with perseverance. Teach us to see in our fellow workers the Christ who desires to be in them. Help us to look upon work with the eyes of faith, so that we shall recognize in it our share in God's creative activity and in Christ's work of our redemption, and take pride in it. And then a pretty powerful part of the prayer is we say, when our work is pleasant, help us to give thanks to God for it, but when it is burdensome, teach us to offer it to God in reparation for my sins and the sins of the world. So we're so thankful for his patronage.
He's a wonderful saint, a very powerful saint. Often he's overlooked, but you are definitely utilizing him, and I think that is so wonderful. Okay, dear listeners, this is your time to get on the show. Speak to Jennifer Baugh. She's with us. She's the executive director and founder of Young Catholic Professionals. If you want to check out her site, all you got to do is go to take2show.com, and we have a link right there. You can go right to Young Catholic Professionals. Jennifer is with us the entire hour, and Ann is going to be first up in Boston, Massachusetts. So hold on, Ann. We're getting right to you in just a few seconds. We'll be right back.
And I'm Doug Keck here on EWTN's Bookmark Brief. I just finished talking with my great friend Marcus Grodi about his new book, Life from Our Land, The Search for a Simpler Life in a Complex World. And Marcus, could you give us a synopsis of what this book is about?
Wow, maybe the subtitle really puts it. How do we understand Christ's radical call to simplicity? Often statements about denying wealth and possessions. How do we live that out? Does it necessarily mean leaving the city and going to the country and getting a farm? No, not necessarily, because you might find that's not a simple life at all. But the book's about is what Marilyn and I did learn, and my children, from our time in the rural life about living a more detached, simple life in obedience to Christ, and then trying to figure out how we can pass it on to our kids.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Marcus. Look for Marcus Grodi's interview about his book, Life from Our Land, The Search for a Simpler Life in a Complex World. It's available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. Thank you for joining us on this EWTN Bookmark Brief.
Being part of EWTN Media Missionaries is a perfect way to help us fulfill our calling from Christ to make disciples of all nations. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com and join us in sharing the eternal word with the world.
What's stopping you from becoming a Catholic?
Why can't women become priests?
I don't understand why I have to earn salvation.
How is it possible that God created everything?
Why do I need to confess my sins to a priest?
Why is the Catholic Church so unwilling to
The Catholic Church is too rich.
Catholics worship Mary and are committed.
As far as I'm concerned, all religions are equal.
You are called to communion with Dr. David Anders. Today, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Bishop Paul Bradley of the Diocese of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Hi, this is Tim Staples from Catholic Answers Live.
This is Father John Ricardo. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
What a great way to start the week of broadcasts of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. With our guest, Jennifer Baugh. She is the founder and executive director of Young Catholic Professionals. Get a hold of her, tap into her experience, and maybe you want to know what the organization is doing, how you get involved, how it can help you out there in the workplace. We are called to be leaven. We are called to be in the temporal order. That means out there in the world, in the workplace. And so, and to make a difference for Christ. So join us today, 1-800-585-9396. As Debbie, you promised Ann would be first.
I did, but I said, Ann, it was a few seconds. I really meant a few minutes. So sorry, Ann. Welcome from Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross, one of our favorite stations. Hi, Ann. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. You're on with Jennifer Baugh.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was calling because I work as a behavior analyst with young children diagnosed with autism, and one of the kiddos that I work with, he's very smart, very intelligent. So I just pretty much work on his social skills. So anyway, I recently had an assignment at his summer camp, and very long story short, though. Anyway, one of the counselors began to talk about gender, and then gender identity, and then he presented the book Meet Teddy. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not.
I'm not familiar with the book, but I can guess what it's probably about.
Yeah, so you can look it up, but I want to keep it short because the screener was like, I was just like, so like, I was just telling him everything because I was just panicking the whole time. But anyway, so as he's talking about, then he begins, and then so I immediately called his parents that I work with, but of course, they're they were both in meetings, and the mom's like, oh, just sent me a text, what's going on? Is it important? I'm like, oh, I'll mention it to you later. And the reason why I was calling them, just to check in, to be like, did this kid even ask the families, first of all, for permission, can we show this book to your son or daughter? But anyway, luckily, the boy that I work with, he's very intelligent, as I said. But anyway, he had the look on his face like, I really don't want to hear this. That's at least what I read from him. And anyway, he recently made like this cake because it was Superhero Week, and he had it with him, and he kept looking at it. So really, my heart was to just distract him with that cake because I just kept asking him questions about it, and because I felt like I had to protect him. And of course, all the other children around, I'm looking around at their faces, and I mean, it was like, these kiddos were like 5 up until 14 years old. And, some of them looked fascinated about this. And I was just so petrified that, I wanted to stand up and stop the whole thing, but I know I'm not there for that. And it was just so hard for me to just...
Well, Anne, let me jump in here, Anne, if I may. I think perhaps maybe the thing, Jennifer, we might want to zero in on is this whole, and this is certainly not a single issue that's being now introduced into workplaces and so forth, this gender anarchy, as I like to call it. But what kind of advice would you offer to Anne, or really anybody, Jennifer, who, they're going to face, people are just going to face these issues. There's no question about that going forward.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Anne, I mean, absolutely want to encourage you for staying true to your faith and having such great compassion and concern. So definitely be encouraged and keep staying true. I mean, this is a hard time we're in right now, and I'm not sure if you all have recently seen an article from the National Catholic Register about Cardinal Burke's 10 ways to overcome this crisis of confusion, division in the church. But, one of the top things that he lists is that all of us need to study the catechism more attentively and be prepared to defend the church's teaching. And so I think that's just a real call to action for all of us. Pope Emeritus Benedict, in his introduction in the UCAT, which is the Youth Catechism, said that we need to know our faith better than the generations before us. Just like an IT professional knows the inner workings of a computer and a musician knows, the piece that he's playing, we need to know our faith with that same level of sort of clarity to meet the challenges of the time. So I think it's just a call to all of us young professionals to learn more about our faith so that we can defend it. The other thing as well is this is the time where we might be called to sort of accept ridicule for the sake of the faith. One of the other points Cardinal Burke mentions is, he says, be ready to accept ridicule, misunderstanding, persecution, exile, and even death to remain one with Christ and the Church, following the example of St. Athanasius and other great saints. So I would say, Anne, the fact that you are ready to defend the truth and help these young people who are so open in this stage in their life, I think is excellent. And I think what we pray for is tact. We pray for to remove ourselves from the situation so that there isn't pride there and that we're not working with any other type of ulterior motives, but that, we really are speaking in defense of the faith and for the sake of others. So it requires a lot of prayer. But what I would also recommend is looking for a mentor, someone in the Catholic faith who you really admire, and really kind of run a lot of this by them. And, that's something that we offer with young Catholic professionals. We have an executive mentorship program because we believe that the witness of those who have gone before us is so vital for our ability to witness to those who come after us. And so I really would suggest that you look for some solid Catholics out there who have had to navigate some of these really tough situations like you're mentioning, and really just look to them for guidance and support.
Well, Anne, I couldn't add a single word to what Jennifer had to say. I think it was a real comprehensive advice given to you. I would definitely check out youngcatholicprofessionals.org. Look for that support system. You need the support system. I agree, Jennifer, so very much. We've got to be affirmed in what we're doing, and so that we can learn and stand strong. And Anne, when situations happen like that, there's only, sometimes you have to really only turn to prayer, because you just get to a point where you're thinking, I don't know what to say, what to do, Lord, you got to help me. And he's there with you. And God bless you for just being a faithful Catholic, and you've got a great heart. It sounds like you really were in a struggle. But you know what? With prayer, God will make things right. It truly will. So, Jennifer, thank you for that great advice. And thank you in Boston, Massachusetts. And by the way, just so I don't get any text messages, I love all the stations, okay? All of the radio stations, especially the ones that carry Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you're with us.
Yeah, 1-800-585-9396. Mike is next, followed by Will and others, talking with Jennifer Baugh today.
John Martinoni.
Okay, the serpent was Satan, essentially. He had taken the form of a serpent. Satan is culpable because he tempted them to evil. He is not responsible for their sin. They had free will. They could have said no. Satan is culpable because he tempted them to do something contrary to the will of God.
Open Line with John Martinoni. Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Celebrating 100 years of Fatima with Monsignor Charles Pope.
On May 13th, 1917, in her first apparition to the three children, Our Lady of Fatima said, "Are you willing to offer yourselves to God and bear all the sufferings He wills to send you as an act of reparation for the conversion of sinners?" It's a powerful question. It's a question that's also being asked of us. Are we willing? Do we pray for the conversion of sinners? Are we willing to fast? Are we willing to accept sufferings that the Lord might send us so that sinners can be converted? Are we even willing to suffer ourselves for our own conversion? So often we simply want things to be well, but we don't want to be part of the solution. We ask God to fix things. But God asks us, will you join me in this great work of the conversion of sinners?
Join EWTN as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Fatima. Visit EWTN.com/Fatima.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
We are delighted you're with us on a Monday of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Going right back to your phone calls for Jennifer Baugh, our guest, founder and executive director of Young Catholic Professionals. Wow, the difference you can make out there in the working world. Or, you know, it's always the case. We can make a difference, or the workplace and the culture can maybe make a difference upon us, and we don't want it to be that way. We want to take Christ out there and live our faith. Do it charitably, gently, politely, respectfully, always. We're going to talk next with Mike, who is in Garden City, Kansas, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hello, Mike. Let's get to Mike if we can. No, we're going to go to Will. Sorry about that. Mike thought Mike was ready. Sorry about that. Will is in Minot, North Dakota, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Will. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry and Debbie. How are you guys doing today?
Great, Will. Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Hi, Will.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just said hi, Will.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Well, I work two jobs. One of my primary job is the music director at my parish. So that one, it's obviously easy to stay focused. But my second job is at a coffee shop here in Minot, and it's usually pretty early morning shifts, 5:30 or 6 a.m. And with an 11-month-old, it's often hard to get up and be happy and cheerful and work hard at 5:30 in the morning. But some things that really help me is I always keep my rosary in my pocket and try to keep my scapular on, close to my heart. And I always wake up and try to pray the litany of humility, and those things just kind of help me get through my day.
Wow, what do you think, Jennifer?
I was just going to say that I'm so glad you shared all of that, because, we need to hear that. It's the perfect way to start the day. And I think, the other thing is we're called to pray without ceasing, St. Paul tells us. So, I mean, even when you're, working at the coffee shop, it's a form of prayer. And I think starting your day off like you do is just a wonderful way to remind yourself of that. So I think if there could be more young people like you starting their day that way, especially with an 11-month-old, my goodness, I think it'd be a much more joyful, hopeful world. So just want to encourage you to continue doing so. And I think part of what makes young Catholic professionals, part of our mission is to encourage witness. You mentioned keeping the rosary in your pocket, and I immediately thought of one of our first YCP speakers. He shared a story, basically at about noon every single day, he would sort of close his door part way to pray the rosary. And 25 years later, one of the workers who worked in the mailroom came up to him and said, you don't know this, but I've been watching you for the last 25 years, seeing your faithfulness to the rosary, and because of you, I decided to become Catholic. So it's just amazing, sort of the power of witness. So, Will, thank you so much. You inspire me.
I agree so much. I was thinking of the Knights of Columbus as well, Will, because my husband's a 4th degree knight. Jerry's a 4th degree knight as well, and my husband carries the rosary in his pocket, and along with other Knights of Columbus stuff. And it's just interesting because I've often thought, if God forbid he's ever in an accident and they have to empty his pockets, it's almost looks like a religious store and all. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing, Will. And that's what I was saying. And I'm glad you affirmed that, Jennifer, because people are watching. People are soaking it in. They want to know what we have. They want to know what we believe. And if you do that proudly, like you are, proudly in a good way, not pridefully, proudly though, Will, that's awesome. I agree with Jennifer. You're being an inspiration to so many people.
Yeah. Anything else, Will, before we let you go?
Well, no, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I just hope it helps.
Thank you.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer, are there, again, the website is youngcatholicprofessionals.org. I've been on the website, looked around a little bit. Is there anything there, Jennifer, that, people could maybe tap into, resources, suggestions, maybe any kind of devotionals or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned earlier that St. Joseph is our patron. So what we do as a national movement is every Wednesday at noon Central, we offer prayers to our patron, St. Joseph. So if you go on our website, you can actually see the information to dial in and join us for about 7 minutes of prayer every single Wednesday. So, could you imagine if we had a bunch of people praying with us at that time? It would just be so wonderful for our country. So I'd love for you all to just hop on our website, youngcatholicprofessionals.org, and look for that link with that information. The other thing you'll see on our website is information on how to start a chapter. We have 16 chapters now across the country. We just launched in Detroit 2 Tuesdays ago, and it was unbelievable with 380 people at the kickoff event. Just so much energy. So, if somebody listening would be interested in perhaps learning more about what it takes to start a chapter, there's a lot of great information on our site, and our national staff is there to help along the way. So those are just a couple things you'll find on our website.
Not to put you on the spot, Jennifer, but is there a chapter in Arizona? I'm just curious.
There is, yeah. We have an incredible chapter in Phoenix.
Wow, good going. See, there's a lot of young Catholic. We have a very strong, vibrant Catholic community here. We have Bishop Olmsted. So with a leader like that, we have a lot of people that are really going into their careers in a very good way as Catholic Christians. So that's very encouraging to hear that there's a chapter. So, but also too, you have a conference coming up. When is that?
We do, yeah. It's our inaugural member conference. So we're inviting all young people from across the country to join us, and it's the weekend of September 29th, and it's going to be in Dallas, Texas. And we're just thrilled about the theme this year. That was totally inspired by the Holy Spirit. But basically, we're taking St. Francis de Sales' book, Introduction to the Devout Life, and we're diving into it and really looking to kind of pull from it some wisdom that we can apply in practical ways to our daily life as young professionals. So we have Father John Bertunik as one of our keynote speakers, and if you all don't know him, he was one of the priest experts on the set of the Passion movie.
Right.
And so he's just incredible. And then we have, time for adoration and mass and breakout sessions kind of based on chapters of the book. And it's also just going to be just an incredible time, a lot of fun. So would really encourage people to join us. We like this theme of kind of taking a really special Catholic book and diving into it and then pulling practical tips from it. And the Holy Spirit has already inspired actually next year's conference and given us the book. So we're really, really excited, and we're going to unveil that at this member conference coming up September 29th. So you can find information about that on our website, and we also have a special site for the conference, ycpconference.org. So would love to have you all there.
All right, great. Back to your calls, Patrick in South Bend, Indiana, on our partner Redeemer Radio. Patrick, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and our guest, Jennifer Baugh. How are you, Patrick?
Hi, how's it going this morning? It's afternoon.
Good.
Sorry, calling in from South Bend, Indiana.
Yep.
I guess I listen to your guys' show on a very regular basis, and I'm actually excited. It's the first time I've had a opportunity to give you guys a call. I just wanted to kind of make a couple of comments on the topic at hand. I kind of fall into that young professional category, and I'm very active in my faith. And I just want to say for people out there who are looking for ways to get involved, whether it be in the church and the working world, there are opportunities, and I think people are looking for our generation to step up and fill gaps. For instance, I know somebody had mentioned it earlier in the program right when I was turning in about the Knights of Columbus. I joined the Knights of Columbus when I was 18 years old at Notre Dame as a freshman, and have been involved in the organization since, and actually just this last summer became Grand Knight of one of our councils here in South Bend. I was thinking about it, I'm actually the youngest Grand Knight in the 116-year history of the council. So there's lots of opportunities for people to get involved. And I think that's one of the things that at least young professionals need are just good role models. And for people who have good formation in the faith or strong in their faith, whether it, again, be in the working world or getting involved in their parish, sometimes people just need somebody to take that first step to give them the courage to step up. And I think our generation has a lot of ability to do a lot of good in this world. It just, again, takes somebody to make that first step, and we can all benefit from it.
Wow. Jennifer, I'm inspired by Patrick. What do you think?
Me too.
I am too, Patrick. Let's work together. I would love to chat with you. You sound like a wonderful, wonderful leader. And I just think it's great that you are representing youth, because you're absolutely right. The church is counting on us. When you think of our popes, our last four popes, they've all had such unbelievable hope for young people as a beacon of light for the church. St. John Paul II with World Youth Day saying that we're the future of the world, the hope of the church, and Pope Emeritus Benedict saying that it would be a new generation of Catholics who would renew the church's presence in society. So, the popes have a lot of hope in us, and we really have to rise to that now. And there really are so many opportunities for young people to engage. I mean, talk about just the demand. The demand is there. So, we really need to fulfill that. And, you also talk about leaders and the fact that we are in need of mentors. And I just read a quote that said something like, modern man learns so much more from witnesses than from teachers. I thought that was interesting. And it sort of is in line with what you shared, Patrick, that we need the witness of those who have gone before us, and we also need the witness of our peers to encourage us, to remind us that we're on the right track. And so I think it's so important for us to be in community, but not just any type of community, a community that calls us to that higher standard, just like the Knights do, Patrick. And, hopefully young Catholic professionals can do the same. And I'm sure there's many wonderful apostolates out there that also challenge us to sort of follow the straight and narrow path. So thank you so much for calling in, Patrick, and sharing that. And just definitely with you very much in prayer and in this fight for souls.
Yep. Patrick, I just have to ask one thing. Being the youngest Grand Knight, what do you think of the new uniforms?
They are a little different. I guess my initial reaction, part of the reason why I joined, and my grandfather was a knight, my dad's a knight. There's a long history and tradition that goes to it. The uniforms, again, they look nice, but they definitely are a little different and don't necessarily have that tradition. I guess at this point it's still pretty fresh and new, and I think it remains to be seen how they'll get accepted. And once it gets implemented and people start wearing them, I don't really see it being a huge issue necessarily. But again, it's just a different point from tradition.
Yeah.
With anything, the guys that are wearing the uniform are exactly the same. So,
true.
And I think with being a Knight of Columbus, it's a lot more about what you're doing versus what you're wearing. So, as a council and as assemblies, the Knights will continue to push forward for doing good works of the church and bettering our communities.
Yeah, a lot of clothing stores will say, the suit makes the man, but in this case, the man makes the suit. And Patrick, I'm a fourth-degree knight, so I want to just chime in on that and say thank you, and just ask any Catholic man, if you're not a Knight of Columbus, ask yourself why. I don't say that heavy-handedly. I just say, think about it, reflect on it. The Knights need you, especially young people. And I've been a Grand Knight and a Deputy Grand Knight. And I have to know, Patrick, are you guys gearing up to sell your steak sandwiches again on campus this football season?
Well, actually, that's the Notre Dame Council.
The Notre Dame Council,
1477. So yes, they will. I did steak sandwiches when I was a student there, and still have the scars on the back of my knuckles from manning the grill. So that's a great fundraiser. So yeah, if you're ever out for any of the football games, walk to the center of campus, steaks, drinks, and it's all really good. It goes
awesome.
I was there, for the Notre Dame Michigan game a few years ago, and enjoyed one of those steak sandwiches. So thanks, Patrick. We'll let you go on that.
Have
a blessed day. Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
No, I was just going to say, Jennifer, what you had to say with Patrick, I think, was just beautiful, because one of the reasons why we feel that Take Two is very welcomed and popular amongst the younger population, if you will. I mean, like Jerry liked to say, we're a little bit older. We're actually a lot older, but we pretend like we're a little bit older. But here's the thing: is that idea of being a witness by locking arms together in a peer ministry. There is plenty of room for those leaders to teach us and to impart the principles of the faith, absolutely. But when you can join together from a peer ministry, it is such a beautiful encounter, soul to soul. Plus, when you feel that support, it empowers you to take your Christian life, take your Catholic life into the workplace, and it's a beautiful way to expand your faithfulness. And so, thank you for saying that, Jennifer, because I've often struggled with how to articulate what exactly is the appeal of Take Two, but that's exactly it. We're a peer ministry. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Well, and thank you all for the work you do, because I think it's so important. I mean, I think right now we just need places to feel welcome and to feel comfortable being ourselves, because really, we're all on this journey to heaven together. One of my favorite quotes from Mother Teresa is, "If we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other." And so that notion of us belonging to each other is so wonderful, and we really need to celebrate that as Catholics. So thank you, Debbie.
Oh, bless your heart. Speaking of that, Jerry, don't you just love pilgrimages? Because I love pilgrimages because it allows us to journey together to get closer to God. And here's a great opportunity for all of you listening right now. Have you ever considered the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament? You can visit the final resting place of Mother Angelica. You can also tour the EWTN campus, which is just an hour away. It's just a wonderful way to journey together, like we said, to get closer to God, to know that you're not alone. You're with each other and you're affirming each other's faith. So if you want to go on a Catholic pilgrimage, call EWTN. Would you do that? Because they just have wonderful opportunities for you. And all you have to do is call this number, 205-271-2966, and you can start your pilgrimage package today.
Okay, Mike, thank you for your patience in Garden City, Kansas. Going to get to you next here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our guest Jennifer Baugh talking about young Catholic professionals. Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Mike. Thanks for the call. What's on your mind today?
I just wanted to say, I'm not Catholic, and I'm not knocking. I just don't have any good channels around, and I listen to you guys all the time because you guys have a lot of good values. And like you were talking about today, kids are very impressionable, and I know because I used to be one, but how you act and the way you lead, whether you think they're paying attention or not, they are, because they get curious and ask questions. Because I have two jobs. I truck, and then I'm a sentinel for my church. And I don't know if you guys know what sentinel is or not, but it's armed security, which is kind of sad that it's gotten to that point, because I think when I was a kid, you would have never even thought about taking a gun to church.
Right.
But, the people that you meet just through what you do and how you act, even older people, I get a lot of criticism, like she was saying, being called church girl and all that stuff, and I got that, and especially going through the church. Oh, you're religious. Why are you carrying a gun? Thou shalt not kill. But it's come to the point where you have to defend, and you have to protect your family, your church, your friends.
Right. Well, Mike, when you called and you initially stated, you said right out of the gate, you said, I'm not Catholic, but you listen to the show because something speaks to you or you feel comfortable. That's a beautiful thing. That just that's Christ-centered, and that's wonderful that you are drawn to that. The one thing that I would say is, please, I encourage you to continue to listen to EWTN, because we have found it. It's almost it's so enormous, Mike. We can't even wrap our heads around it. How many folks tell us that they listen to EWTN and it doesn't just speak to their mind and heart; it speaks to their soul, and that is huge.
You're right, and if people would get off the issue of whether I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, it's if you serve God, it's not religion, it's relationship.
Right.
And if you have that relationship, then we wouldn't be comparing odds and ends. And there's a lot of I meet a lot of Sunday Christians, and I've met a lot of Sunday Catholics. I've been to Catholic churches. It's just it wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't get fed there, and I'm not bashing Catholics at all. It's just I wasn't called to go that round, I guess.
Well, Mike, I'll just comment quickly on that. First of all, give it another shot. But if you're going to a church, that in itself is beautiful. It's great, and we hope that you are being fed there. We encourage you to look into the Catholic teaching on what we call the Eucharist, because when we talk about being fed, we literally are fed the actual body and blood of Jesus Christ. That's a 2,000-year church teaching, and it's historically and biblically rooted. And I'm not saying this to beat you up about it, Mike. I'm just trying to offer a word of encouragement there. But Jennifer, I want to get back to you. What struck me about Mike's comment was he brought up the fact that young people are so impressionable, and even young adults, Jennifer, they get into the working world, and we're still sort of maybe a little unsure of ourselves, trying to find our place, create our own legacy, if you will. So all these things coming at young people today, getting back to early in the show, really can create a lot of difficulties.
Absolutely.
And opportunities.
Yes, and I think that's why we can't. I don't mean to quote Mother Teresa all the time today, but she must be on my mind. She said this is the time where we can't wait for leaders. We have to do it alone, person to person. And so I think we really have to, step up and be those leaders that our world so desperately needs today. And so I think it's, Mike is absolutely right in terms of the fact that young people are so impressionable. So I think it's a challenge to those in leadership positions, to really be people worthy of respect and people of integrity. We had a speaker with young Catholic professionals who is CEO of, one of the fastest growing energy companies, and he shared with us that basically in their early life, they had really a kind of a defining moment where actually something went very, very horribly wrong. There were a few sort of renegade consultants that were actually sort of abusing the trust of the customers, and customers were leaving the company in droves, and really there was sort of a toxic area of the business. And so this CEO said that it was, this was the moment where they really would decide what they stood for. And their slogan at the time was "Never sacrifice integrity for growth." And he said, really, this was our chance to show the world and our employees what we stand for. So he said he wrote a letter of sort of apology not only to all of the consultants in the network, but also to some of their competitors, explaining exactly what had happened and why that would never happen again. And apparently someone from the state commission said, we've never had a company be so forward about a mistake that they had made, and the fact that you were so honest and so open and sort of humble about it all is something that we admire greatly. And employees wrote into the CEO saying, we're so happy to work here, a place with such integrity. So, people really are watching, and that's why it's important for us to really work with a spirit of faith, knowing that we work for God, that He's the real master that we serve. And I think when we operate that way, there's so much freedom. We really are able to put aside all of the expectations of the world and the people and really just serve God with everything that we have. So very much agree with that statement. And also, I think that in the Catholic faith we can find a lot of the gems to help guide us along the way through the sacraments, like you mentioned, Mike, and the example of the saints and so much more.
Well, thank you again, Mike. We so appreciate you listening to Take Two and for your contribution today. I think you said you're a truck driver, a safe driving, and keep listening, please, Mike. Wow, Jennifer, this has just been an amazing show, and I just hope so many of our listeners and their families go to youngcatholicprofessionals.org, check out your site, the conferences, the way that you guys come together in prayer and support one another. You're doing great work, Jennifer. We're gonna send many, many prayers around you so that the blessings continue to flow.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and you can count on ours for you as well, and hopefully we can send many more laborers to the harvest.
Amen. Thank you, Jennifer, for your time on the program today. Great stuff. Really important. Again, youngcatholicprofessionals.org. And Debbie, I know that you and I love to visit our affiliates, and we have a brand new affiliate that we really ought to put at the top of our list of going to visit. We want to welcome a new station, FM 107.3 KFIP, serving Kona, Hawaii. Congratulations to Kathy Warren and her hardworking team at Faith Up for bringing Catholic radio to the Big Island. When do you think we'll get to go visit?
I hope very soon. I love Hawaii. Please bring us out there. We'll do talks. We can do the show live. It would be so much fun. Plus, I get to walk on the beach, Jerry.
Well, tomorrow is the Feast of the Assumption, a holy day of obligation. Go to Mass this evening or tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to take your calls on your relationship with Mary. Real practical, real life, down to earth. How do you relate to and love and honor our Blessed Mother? That's tomorrow.
So until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.